Hey everyone, this is Yjang. Today's day 5 of the 12-day tangent. In this short episode, me and Jeff were basically talking about what would it be like to parent someone growing up on the internet today. And as we reflect upon how we grew up on the internet and how we managed to find different parts of it and where we came to be now. And also a little bit of a quick preview of the next episode. But this is day 5 and this is Yjang. And now, let's get into the show. The internet is so unpredictable and is too wide and expansive that I'm trying to in my mind trying to understand how would I honestly guide my child through the internet. And that's a question that you have to.
Don't give it to them until they're old enough.
But that's the thing. It's like you can't do that
because you're gonna give them a tablet until they're like 8.
I understand that, but the thing, by the time they're 8, that's like a really sensitive time between like 8 and 12. So how do you guide your kid through that when that's exactly the kind of people that are on TikTok and crap?
My brother, at least in my family, he didn't get a phone until he was like 10 or 11, and that's only because he was starting to walk to school by himself. Mm-hmm. And he got like a kind of like old phone that all it could really do was call. Mm-hmm. I don't even think it could text.
Okay. He had the flip phone.
So he didn't. Well, I had a flip phone. I remember my first phone was bought from a gas station for $20.
Oh.
And it was a red flip phone, uh-huh. And it had Earthworm Jim on it, and I played the shit out of it.
Okay.
And I think it had Minesweeper. It was great.
You have more games than mine. I only had Snake, Tetris, and Brick Breaker.
I think I had Snake, but I never played it because I was bad at it. But like he didn't get a real phone until he was like 13, I think. Mm-hmm. But he had his computer. But the thing about that is, you've been to my house. Our computers are right next to each other, so I'm always next to him. You know, he didn't really get private internet access till he was like a teenager. You know, and I think that's a good thing to do. But that relied on me making sure he didn't do anything wrong. Like
but that's the thing.
We're still out there. But like, if I ever become a parent, like, I don't know what I would do to keep my child away from bad parts of the internet.
Well, that's the thing. I think it's like, honestly, if I had to give anything, it's more of like my parents and I had like a constant communication with each other, and it was a lot of trust. So my parents trusted me, and I trusted my parents, and it was like mutual that I'm not going to go into some crazy sites. And they would remind me periodically, like, don't go onto the weird parts of the internet. Be in like don't go too crazy. And even though it didn't do really anything, because I went to the places that I wanted to, but the thing is, I knew when I was uncomfortable, and I just left. And honestly, is like you can't. The thing about the internet is that you really can't protect much people unless you try to restrict it. But even then, eventually you're going to grow up to find how to unrestrict yourself, or you'll be given that, range of freedom because of time and growing up. Mm-hmm. So it honestly comes down to like what kind of values you instill in your kid early on, because otherwise it's going to be really difficult for you to control anything what a person sees.
In my personal experience, my parents didn't really like, I wouldn't say they didn't care where I went. They just didn't monitor me at all. And I'm extremely curious. So I went everywhere and anywhere on the internet when I first got internet access back when I was like 12.
Okay.
And I saw everything. I went everywhere, and it was quite the experience for my growing mind, and it probably did help shape me into the person I am. I don't know if it was a good thing, but it was something. So
I know that I had like a lot of free range, and to tell you how much free range I had, I was able to use Tor when I was like 13 and 14. Honestly, I was surprised I managed to use Tor when I was like 14. I had the ability to go around the places, but the places I didn't like, I honestly didn't hang around too much. And even then, like the places I liked the most were the places I frequented most of my time on the internet, like YouTube, Newgrounds. If you don't remember, hey, 1999 kids, do you remember Poptopia in school?
Oh! Pop Tropica, you mean?
Pop Tropica, yes, Pop Tropica.
Pop Tropica was the shit. Hello, viewers. Hope you're enjoying the podcast. You should go follow us on Twitter at The Tangent Pod. I just made a new Twitter. You can follow me at T Krogan. We're doing the 12 Days of Christmas until Christmas Eve, starting the 12th. So the 12 Days of Christmas. We hope you enjoy that. You can follow each on Twitter. We also have a Patreon if you want to give us some money. It would be appreciated. So you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/tangentpodcast. Just know that you have our thanks and you're helping support the podcast. We are also on Facebook. It's at Official Tangent Podcast. And of course, we're at tangentpodcast.com. Check us out there. We are trying to improve it every episode. We're trying to make the podcast better. If you have ideas or suggestions, tweet us. So I want to thank you all for listening to the Tangent Podcast. I really appreciate it. Making this podcast, it's something that I can give back to the world. That's why it's not really why I started doing this. I started doing this because I wanted to talk to my best friend,
It's more of like my parents and I had like a constant communication with each other, and there was a lot of trust. So my parents trusted me, and I trusted my parents, and it was like mutual that I'm not going to go into some crazy sites. And they would remind me periodically, like, don't go onto the weird parts of the internet. Honestly, if I had to give anything, it's more of like my parents and I had like a constant communication with each other, and there was a lot of trust. So my parents trusted me, and I trusted my parents, and it was like mutual that I'm not going to go into some crazy sites. And they would remind me periodically, like, don't go onto the weird parts of the internet. Had to give anything. It's more of like my parents and I had like a constant communication with each other, and there was a lot of trust. So my parents trusted me, and I trusted my parents, and it was like mutual that I'm not going to go into some crazy sites. And they would remind me periodically, like, don't go onto the weird parts of the internet.